This book is weird, but a very interesting read. So you may or may not know that I am a K-pop fan, and recently I discovered that there's a whole world of K-pop themed novels out there, mainly YA fiction. I was thinking, do these books capture the complexities and the nuance of the K-pop industry, or are they full of cliches and stereotypes? That's why I decided to read a bunch of the most popular K-pop novels out there so that you don't have to, or so that you could pick your next read. For each book, I'm going to assign a K-pop song, which I think reflects it the most. The first book I want to talk about is quite iconic, and it is Shine by Jessica Jung. And the song that I assigned this book is Into the New World by Girls' Generation. If you're not aware, Jessica Jung, the author of this book, was a member of Girls' Generation. This is a fiction book, and it follows a character called Rachel Kim, who is a Korean-American trainee at one of the biggest K-pop entertainment companies in Seoul. In this novel, she navigates the intense, rigorous training program, strict rules, toxic industry politics, and she starts falling for a K-pop star within the same company called Jason. If you've been into K-pop for a while, you'll know that Jessica Jung was once part of Girls' Generation, and importantly, she was also controversially removed from the group. And Jessica Jung is also a Korean-American idol. And the novel Shine follows a Korean-American trainee who is successfully scouted by a major company, faces problems with the other idol trainees, and has a younger sister who she confides in. Sound familiar? I actually really enjoyed this book. It felt like an authentic behind-the-scenes look into the K-pop industry, especially having been written by someone who actually experienced it. There's a sequel called Bright, which I haven't read yet, but I really want to. So the next book I want to talk about is called Kpop Confidential by Ester Li. And the song that I assigned this book is Armageddon by aespa, because this song is a strong and powerful anthem by a really big girl group, and it's about standing up for yourself, which I think is really relevant in this book. So this is a novel which follows a girl called Candace Park, who is a Korean-American teenager who unexpectedly finds herself recruited into a top idol training program. And the story follows her life as a trainee and how she navigates this high-pressure training environment, and she quickly starts making waves as this rebellious trainee who doesn't follow the rules. Despite the frankly terrible title and cover of this book, I actually thought it was really, really good. And this was one of my favourite K-pop books out of all of the ones I read. I think it really does a good job of depicting how brutal trainee life can be, with long hours, strict rules, intense dieting. And I think the book does so in a way that doesn't make it feel over the top or exploitative of the industry as a whole. For example, one interesting detail, in the dorms where the K-pop idols trained, they have a shared dining room area where the male trainees and the female trainees eat lunch and dinner, and the hall is split by gender, but they have a glass wall in between the two halves of the dining hall. So the male and female trainees can see each other, but they can't interact. And the reason for this is the company feels like the female trainees will eat less if they think that they're being observed by boys. And it's these kind of specific details that make the book feel really authentic. And there's also a cute subplot romance that Candace has with one of the male trainees. And it's quite a sweet storyline, but it's not the main plot, which is quite nice. And so this book tackles some big controversial issues in K-pop, such as dating bans, obsessive fans, and the extreme pressure to be perfect. So yeah, really good book. Okay, so the next book I want to talk about is the sequel to Kpop Confidential, and that's called Kpop Revolution by Ester Li. And for this book, I've chosen the song Power by EXO, because it's an uplifting song, which is perfect for a book about making change happen. So I read this book immediately after the first one because it was actually pretty addictive, and I really wanted to find out what happened to Candace. Whereas the first book followed Candace's life as a trainee, this book follows her life as a debuted K-pop idol. This book follows her life as an idol who has debuted. And instead of just surviving, she becomes a catalyst for change within the industry. I found it quite refreshing to read a story that acknowledges how flawed the K-pop system is, without it feeling very condescending or looking down upon another culture. That being said, the book is definitely very idealistic in its description of the industry's openness and willingness for change. I won't give away what happens to the plot, but essentially Candace changes the whole industry for better, and that's just something that would never happen in real life. But if you want a K-pop book with lots of drama and a story about an underdog, then this is the one for you. The next book I want to talk about is this one, and it is called YN by Ester Li. When I was reading this, I tried to stick to theme and to use a photo card as a bookmark, which was fun. And the song I'm going to assign to this book is Odd Eye by SHINee, and that's because I think it represents the protagonist's distorted view on reality. It's about this woman who is working a dull office job in Berlin. She becomes obsessed with a K-pop group, and in particular a K-pop idol called Moon. Her obsession spirals out of control very quickly, and she soon moves to Seoul to basically stalk Moon. She loses herself and her grip on reality in this dreamlike, obsessive pursuit of him. And she also writes fan fiction to imagine a life with him, hence the name of the book YN, which stands for Your Name, which is commonly used in insert reader fan fiction, so you can insert yourself in these scenarios with a K-pop star. On the surface, this may just seem like a book about a crazy, obsessed K-pop fan who goes too far, and it could definitely be read as a critique of the fandom culture and the K-pop industry in general, and about how the K-pop industry is designed to take money off these young girls and fill an emotional void in their life. However, I think this book isn't just about K-pop. It's about loneliness and identity as a woman in society and about losing yourself. The writing is not your typical YA prose. It's fragmented, confusing, very dreamlike, and at times, honestly, deeply disturbing. But that's the kind of book I like to read, so I really enjoyed it, but it's not for the faint-hearted. Honestly, I wouldn't say I enjoyed this book, but I don't think the author really intended anyone to enjoy it. It's more a book that makes you think. And that's why I think SHINee's Odd Eye is perfect, because SHINee is just that kind of group. So the next book I want to talk about is called Somewhere Only We Know by Maureen. So this is a classic YA romance novel, and the song that I've decided to put with this book is Gotta Go by Chung Ha, because of the themes of self-discovery and the struggles of being a female idol. It's about this K-pop star called Lucky, who is an idol at the peak of her career, and one day she sneaks out of her hotel in Hong Kong looking for a night of freedom, where she meets Jack, who is an aspiring journalist, and they spend this whirlwind weekend together. Unlike most of the other K-pop books I read, which follow the lives of people becoming trainees, this is a book that is actually about a famous debuted idol, which makes it kind of different. And I think the book is quite nice because it gives you an inside look into the struggles of fame and especially of being a female celebrity, particularly when it comes to obsessive male fans and a lack of personal freedom. And what's cool about this book is that the entire book spans over just 3 days, which makes it a fast-paced yet light-hearted read. And it's set in Hong Kong and it describes the place so beautifully. I've been there once and it made me really want to go back. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of really sticky, sweet romance books, but this was a nice read because of the K-pop angle, and if you like cute escapist rom-coms, then this is the one for you. So the next book I want to talk about is called Idol Gossip by Alexandra Lee. I really don't like the names of these K-pop books. I think that they could be way better and way more imaginative. But anyway, this is a book about a teenager called Alice, who is a mixed race, half white, half Chinese American girl who moves to Seoul and unexpectedly gets cast and becomes an idol trainee. Meanwhile, there's this anonymous idol gossip blog which stirs up lots of drama. And the concept of this anonymous K-pop gossip columnist was really cool and very much mirrored what was going on in Gossip Girl and also Lady Whistledown from Bridgerton. And although I thought the idea was really cool, I feel like it didn't really reach its full potential. I think the author could have gone way further, especially because if you're a fan of K-pop, you know that celebrity gossip sites in Korea like Dispatch really have a lot of power and they have the ability to make or break a K-pop idol's career. I just think that given the real world connotations, the book didn't go far enough. Well, on the other hand, what I actually did like about this book was that it portrayed a platonic friendship between a male and a female idol. And I think it is rare to see a YA without romance as a focus. And another thing, so the protagonist is mixed race, white and Chinese, but the book doesn't really go into any of the hardships or the difficulties faced by ethnically different and foreign trainees within the K-pop system. So it felt like another wasted opportunity. And the song that I assigned to this book was Shut Down by Blackpink, because Blackpink's born skinny bitch energy really matches the cutthroat industry drama. So the next book I want to talk about is called I'll Be the One by Lyla Lee. This is a book about a plus-sized American teenager who enters a K-pop competition. And she's determined to prove that she belongs in the industry, despite her not fitting the cutthroat industry standards of beauty. And the song that I've assigned to this book is Hello Bitches by CL, because CL is an unapologetic, very confident K-pop star. Whilst it was nice to read a success story about a plus-size girl in this industry, the book just felt quite unidimensional. For example, the female characters in the book felt very reductionist, especially Sky's mum and one of the female judges. The things that they were saying about weight and body image just felt so stereotypical. And what I think was the biggest problem with this book is that there wasn't much depth to the conversation about body image. I felt like this book really missed out on that deeper reflection into the fatphobic industry standards, and it didn't really give much thought about what it actually means to be a plus-size girl in today's world, especially a plus-sized Asian dancer. And what I felt like what the book lacked was the authenticity. So the experience of being a plus-size person is so much more than I like my body or I hate my body, and I feel like the book really failed to capture that. It's a complex experience, especially in an industry that is so image obsessed like K-pop. So I feel like the book really missed out on a great opportunity there. But if you want to read a book that has a bit more representation, then it's a nice, easy read. Okay, so those are all the K-pop books that I've read. I think there really were some gems in there, but I don't recommend doing what I did, which is basically reading them one after the other within a space of a couple of days, because if you do that, then it gets quite repetitive. But just pick and choose the ones that you like. And if you have any other recommendations, then let me know. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.